In the late 1840s, some of the most elaborate and distinctive homes of early Beloit, Wisconsin, were along Bluff Street. In 1936, the home at 631 Bluff Street, once owned by the Lee family, was demolished to make room for the new Grinnell building, built to be a memorial hall for veterans. Workers bringing down the thick walls of the old house were surprised to find a small tin in the rubble with the word Dickie carved into the lid. Kathi Kresol, local historian and operator of Haunted Rockford Events, tells the story of the beloved pet named Dickie, placed on a silk pillow in a small tin and entombed within the walls of the old home. Welcome to an audio version of an original article by Kathi Kresol, historian and operator of Haunted Rockford Paranormal Events, Rockford, Illinois. This audio presentation is entitled A Mystery in the Walls. It's an audio version of a 2022 original story by Kathi. The article first appeared in the Rock River Times. This audio article is produced by Thomas Saunders for Haunted Rockford. Copyright 2025.
The Grinnell Senior Center sits on one of the most historic streets in Beloit, Wisconsin. According to the Historic Preservation booklet, A Guide for Property Owners, published in 1997, Bluff Street was one of the first residential streets in the city. The neighborhood was formed shortly after the building of the first bridge crossing the Rock River in the late 1840s. It hosted some of the most elaborate and distinctive homes built in the early days of Beloit. One of the houses that stood on Bluff Street was torn down and rebuilt for a new purpose. Today it's known as the Grinnell Senior Center. The center offers classes, exercise instruction, nutritional meals, and concerts to active older adults. It offers a vibrant place to, as their website states, live your life and forget your age. When the Grinnell building was built, its original purpose was as a hall for veterans. It was built in 1937 at the request of Emma Grinnell, who gave the city $100,000 to build a memorial for her late husband, William. William fought in Company F of the 35th Wisconsin Volunteers during the Civil War. He also was a founding partner of the Beloit Iron Works in the 1880s. Emma donated the $100,000 in William's name to create a place to host events to honor all of the Beloit veterans. But before the building could begin, they needed to tear down an old home that stood on the property of 631 Bluff Street. The house had at one time been owned by the Lee family and was described as one of the finest houses on Bluff Street. It had 7 arches across the first floor and a cupola that overlooked the budding city. It was during the demolition of the old home that a mystery was discovered. When workers were bringing down the 18-inch thick walls of the old house, they uncovered a small tin in the rubble. The tin had the letters Dickie carved into it. The curious workers took the small tin to the superintendent of the dig, Paul B. Kennedy. When Kennedy opened the tin, he discovered the well-preserved body of a canary placed on a tiny silk pillow. There was also an old New Year's greeting card dated 1886. On the back of the card were the following words: "If in years to come anyone should find this box, please bury it again, just as you find it. It holds the oldest and most knowing bird in America. I loved him, and I shall miss him." The other side of the card was written, "Dear little Dick. May you find wings that will bear you far from all imprisonment to a land 'tis evergreen and summer is everlasting, where old age never comes. There you may sing your glad song with many others who have gained life and liberty by death. Peace be to his aches." The card was signed only by the initials N.C. The little coffin and its dedication touched Paul B. Kennedy, and he decided to hunt for the owner of the initials N.C. The word leaked out, and the local newspapers from Rockford all the way to Milwaukee carried the story of the little canary and the owner who loved him. Within a week, a woman named C.W. Merriman came forward with the answer everyone had been searching for. Ms. Merriman had grown up on Bluff Street and had a little friend by the name of Nellie Tuttle Clark. Nellie had lived in the old Lee home with her husband, George. Nellie had been an animal lover who had owned many pets, including birds. "This is the kind of thing Nellie would do," Mrs. Merriman said as she remembered her friend. The newspapers carried this little story, and the response was immediate as well as surprising. The officials in charge of the building and Paul B. Kennedy were overwhelmed by the amount of people who contacted them. Everyone wanted to know what they planned to do with the tin and little Dick's body. The interest must have been intense because the officials decided that though they could not replace the bird's body back into the original walls, they could place the tin into the walls of the brand new building. In a news article dated Sunday, October 4th, 1936, the headline read, "A canary from 1886 is given a new home." The article stated that on a sunny afternoon, all building noise ceased as the workmen gathered around Paul B. Kennedy. They were joined by many members of the community. Kennedy placed the small tin with the loving notes written by a young girl over 50 years before into the newly built wall. The article ended with, "Dickie was laid to rest once again." But that wasn't quite the end of the story. Apparently, Dickie comes back to visit every once in a while. Visitors to the Grinnell Memorial Hall claim to hear the song of a small bird inside the building. In the beginning, the sounds of the bird's warbling would cause folks to become concerned for the trapped bird. But over the years, that concern has been replaced with an acceptance. People theorize that the little bird was grateful to its owner and the officials that replaced its body back into the walls. They think that the little bird comes back every once in a while to express his gratitude with a little song.
This is the end of our audio article. Thanks for listening.